Hey everybody, let's do it. Hello and thank you for stopping by the Stuff I Heard podcast. I am your host Joshua Peak. Hi everybody! So today is November 27th, 2018. November 27th. Now, for a lot of people, November 27th is not a big deal other than the fact of you're probably done with Thanksgiving and you're probably thinking, wow, I need to put up the Christmas tree, or you've already put up your Christmas tree, or you're thinking, holy crap, I've got less than a month to get ready for Christmas. I gotta get shopping. Well, for us, we just happened to have put up our Christmas tree this past weekend, and it is glorious. It is so pretty. I have put some pictures up on Instagram under JATATPEEK. Go check it out. But more importantly, today, November 28th, November 27th, why do I keep saying 28th? Did I say the 28th? Right now people are listening to this going, you dummy. Anyway, 27th. Is that right? 27th. What did I say? 28th? Disregard all of that. Okay. November 27th, 2018 is my son's birthday. My son Draven is 24 years old today. Hi Draven, happy birthday. Probably not listening. And nobody out there probably knows how to get in touch with him. I do have his cell phone and I've texted him. He is living on the West Coast near Seattle, so I'm going to wait a little while before trying to call him to wish him a happy birthday. I have a picture in my phone of one of the first pictures I ever had of him as a baby. I think he was maybe a day old and we had brought him home, and I was 20 years old when he was born. Me and his mom got a place together, got an apartment, and when he was born, I found that my whole world changed. My focus changed, my attention changed, my love changed. Everything about who I was eternally changed because of him. It's one of those things where you hear about, when a woman's expecting a baby, she feels the growth inside of her and she knows that she is part of this cycle of life that's creating life and whatnot. And dads not so much. Dads don't have that going on inside of them. For me, it was very different in the fact that this is no secret, but my kid's mom and I were not together at the time. We had dated and we had separated and we had not seen each other for a lot of months. And I want to say she was probably 5 months pregnant when I found out that she was pregnant and that we were going to be parents. I did propose to her. We did get married after I got out of boot camp. There's a whole thing about insurance and whatnot of why we did that. But we got a place, and I'm probably the only person in history to ever take out a $3,000 loan to join the military. I'll explain. I needed to figure out how to pay the bills while my soon-to-be bride and my baby boy were at our place. We downsized from a 2-bedroom to a 1-bedroom apartment. We got our bills down as low as possible, and I figured out how much money it would cost for her to make it on her own for 3 months. Like with groceries, with electric, with water, with phone, with cable, what it would cost for me to be gone for 3 months. And it was about $3,000 at the time. That would not make it nowadays, but back then it was enough. And I went to the bank and I borrowed money. I borrowed $3,000 so that I could join boot camp. And I knew that I would get paid once I got out of boot camp. And I would be in the military system and I would get a regular check, but I went into debt immediately with my son. And I knew that she wouldn't be able to work right away, and we felt it would be better if she was able to stay home with him rather than try and jump right back into the workforce when we don't have daycare or any of that stuff. And I wasn't going to be there to help her out. And thank goodness our families were willing to step in and help out as well. But again, I'm probably the only person to ever go in debt joining the Marine Corps, joining the military. But when he was born, like up to the point he was born, I was just like, yeah, we're gonna have a kid. Yeah. I mean, it was just like, it was something that wasn't tangible. It was something that wasn't real to me. it was something that was like, yeah, they keep saying that this kid's going to be born and it's going to be mine, and I don't know, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I would be lying if I said I was excited about it. I wasn't excited. I was more in a routine of go to work, come home, take care of her, make sure she's okay and fed and comfortable. And I worked third shift at the time, so I would come home, you know, probably 8 o'clock in the morning. I'd wake her up and we would go for a walk. Her doctor at the time had told her it was important for her to get out and walk around. And I was also trying to join the Marine Corps, so I was needing to get in some extra cardio as well. I was eating salads all night at work, every night. And then when I'd come home, I'd wake her up and we'd go for a walk at the mall. Right back then, you could go inside the mall early and you could walk around the inside of the mall. And none of the businesses were open yet, but it was a way to kind of get some cardio and walk around. And we would talk, and you know, if she was hungry, I'd make sure that we got some breakfast. Sometimes I would eat breakfast with her. And then I'd go home and I'd go to sleep. And I would sleep until it was time to go to work. She'd wake me up and say, hey, you need to get up. You know, let's eat some, I'm going to eat some dinner. You can eat your breakfast, I guess is what it would be. But I mean, I basically just eat whatever she's eating before I went into work. And, you know, we just had this routine for so long. And then all of a sudden it was like, it's time. And I was at work whenever she went into labor. I worked at the hospital that she went to when she went into labor. And I remember being extremely sleepy and frightened and excited, and I guess I was a little green, and at a certain point my mom assigned certain people to me to walk around with me to make sure that I didn't pass out and bump my head into something because I was so exhausted. She was in labor for a very long time, and the minute he was born, like, everything in my life changed, because as soon as he was born I looked at him and the sound in the room, sort of like a funnel, like a water goes through a funnel. The sound in the room funneled into my ears in a sharp, sucking pitch, just... And suddenly, I held my son, and I realized everything is different now. All this crap I thought was important to me is not important to me anymore. And all this stuff that I thought I wanted to do in life, I don't care. This little baby needs me. This little baby is perfect. Because he was mine. And he was perfect. He was a beautiful baby. He was a very hairy baby. He had hair all over his shoulders and his neck and his back and his arms. And I thought, oh no, something happened. He got a little too much hair. But I found out that was normal, and it does fall off and that kind of stuff. Anyway, he was a little baby. He was so cute. And when we took him home, we were able to take him home the next day, and he slept through the night, the first night home. He slept great. I mean, to tell you, if everybody had a kid like this, you'd be like, we can just keep having more of these. This is so easy. He was such a good baby. Our second kid was not. Our second kid didn't sleep for like 2.5 years for more than 30 seconds. That'll make you crazy. But our first son, he slept. And there's a picture that I have of me holding him. I'm 20 years old. I look like a little kid. Because I am a little kid. I'm a 20-year-old kid. No idea what the hell I'm doing. And I'm holding my son. And he's looking up at me. And I'm probably talking to him in the picture. And somebody snapped a photo of me. I don't know if it was my grandparents, or if it was my mom, or if it was their mom. But somebody snapped a picture of me. And it's one of my most prized pictures. Because he's so tiny. He's so tiny. And now he's 24. Big difference. But I know that he's, you know, growing into being a man, and he's growing to find his own way, and he's figuring, you know, stuff out, and that's all great and all, but I really miss him being that little and holding him really tiny, you know. So, anyway, I just figured I'd share that. I know probably a lot of you don't care, but you know, it's on my mind, and this is the Stuff I Heard podcast. Now you can go, you can tell other people you heard, yeah, Josh had his son's birthday, he forgot what the date was. I must have forgot about it because I'm thinking about other things. Anyway, I do want to talk about something I heard on a podcast. I listened to Bert Kreischer's podcast that comes out on Thursdays, Open Tabs, where he opens up things that are on his computer and he starts talking about it. He talks a lot about this this show on the radio. It's a syndicated morning show called The Breakfast Club. And this morning, my job today was to take a car and ride around and do some stuff. And in the car, I turned the radio on, and right away, The Breakfast Club was on. And I thought, well, hey, I've kind of heard this from time to time. I know who these characters are because I've rode with drivers who listen to this show. And I thought, let me listen today. There's nobody in here but me. I can really pay attention. And I listened to it, and they were reading the news, and one of the top headlines is that GM apparently is going to stop making 6 vehicles. Now, for a lot of people, that's not a big deal. They're like, okay, whatever, who cares? It is a big deal in the fact that they're laying off or relocating 8,000 employees. And of the cars, they're all like 4-door sedan type cars, which I get. You know, there's not a lot of push for these 4-door sedans as much. If you ride around on the road, you see more trucks and SUVs and stuff like that nowadays. And, you know, the desire for a 4-door car is just not there. Now, that's not to say that people aren't wanting to buy 4-door cars. It's just that there's more options available now. You can get 4-door trucks and 4-door SUVs. And if you have a family, you're probably not buying a car. You're probably looking at an SUV. You know, it's just a little safer, a little bigger, a little more substantial. If you get in an accident, you're probably going to walk away from it a little easier. But the 6 cars they ended up, you know, canceling or whatever is, let's see, the Buick LaCrosse, which is a pretty looking car. It's just a 4-door car, just a 4-door car. The Cadillac CT6, which looks like the other car. It's just a Cadillac version. I get that. Not a big deal there. The Cadillac STS, which looks just like the other Cadillac, but a little bit bigger. The Chevy Cruze, which I've never liked. I thought that was the crappiest looking car ever. The Chevy Cruze kind of looks like the Chevy Cavalier, the 4-door version. But from the beginning of them making that car, it's been a crappy car. I mean, I get Consumer Reports and it always talks about how crappy that car is. The one that impressed me though, or that surprised me though, is the Chevy Impala. The Impala has turned into like the fleet car for most companies who buy fleet cars. Whenever they're looking for cars for their employees to drive, the Impala is one that they drive. My wife happens to work for a company who buys Chevy Impalas every time there's one to buy. And she just got one of the brand new 2019s, and it's gorgeous. But apparently they're going to stop selling it. I'm really surprised. I really am. Another one that surprised me that I'm disappointed in is the Chevy Volt. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Chevy Volt is an amazing piece of mechanical work. The Chevy Volt has a hybrid type system in it that is way different than anything else on the market. It runs for the first 40 miles just on electric, and then once you eclipse that 40 miles, it switches over to a gasoline motor. And as you're driving on your gasoline motor, it switches back. It will charge the battery, and once the battery's charged, it'll switch back to the electric. So you got to picture I've heard this said before, most people's commute to and from work on a daily basis is less than 40 miles. So if you had this car, the Chevy Volt, which is a nice looking 4-door car. I mean, it's a 4-door car. But if you had this car and you drove less than 40 miles a day, basically you're using 0 gas. But you have the reliability of knowing that if you go over it, a gas motor will turn on and it'll just keep running like normal. And then if you go on long trips, not only will you just keep going, but you'll be charging the electric battery, and once it's fully charged, it'll switch back over and you'll run on electric. So that means you're going to use less gas along the way. A long trip could save you a ton of gas. And sales are down. Sales are down and they're not making it anymore. I'm pretty sad about that. Now, I say that knowing that I could have bought one of these and I just haven't. It's not been ideal for our situation. I needed a truck, so I bought a truck. My wife has a company car, so we have a company car. We don't really need another car. I got an old car that I drive once in a blue moon. It's a 64 AMC Rambler, and it's kind of a hot rod. But to be honest, I only drive it maybe 4 or 5 times a year, going to car shows or just tooling around on a weekend day. Just, yeah, it's a nice day, let me ride it. Do I need it? No. I have kind of toyed around with the idea of maybe selling it and getting something else something a little more turnkey reliable, something maybe a little better on gas, maybe parking the truck and driving something more fuel efficient and using the truck whenever I need to haul something, but other than that, kind of not racking up the miles on it. I've thought about that. You know, this is just some of the crap I've thought about. And secretly in my mind, I've thought, hey, the Chevy Volt would be kind of the way to go, right? Because I'll work, you know, 12 miles up the road, 15 miles up the road. I could go to work and back every day and not have to put a stitch of gas in that vehicle. That's pretty alluring. But now they're not going to make it. Now they say they're not going to make it anymore so that they can make way to start building more autonomous vehicles, self-driving vehicles, electric vehicles, which I get. The market is moving that way. Right now, Tesla is kicking butt on the electric car movement. I saw on a tweet, God, it must have been about a month ago, where somebody from New York posted a thing to Elon Musk saying, you know, thank you so much for creating the Tesla. Our family normally takes a trip down to Disney every year. Last year it cost us $280 in fuel. This year we charged up electric and it only cost us $7.48. Now I don't know how they charge for electric as you go. I mean, I've seen the charging stations at like the mall, and we now have one at our local Walmart in the parking lot. I don't know how they charge you, how much it costs. I've heard it's way cheaper than fuel, you know, gas or natural gas or diesel, whichever. I've heard it's way cheaper because they can generate electricity from a bunch of different resources, and the vehicle is made very efficient. With Tesla knocking it out of the park, you know, on his podcast that he did with Joe Rogan, he talks about how they released statements saying that they've sold more Tesla Model 3s than BMW sold their Model 3. BMW's M3 is like their best-selling BMW, and Tesla outsold them. That's pretty incredible. That means the market is realizing, hey, this is the future. This is where I want my money to go. I'm sick and tired of making these oil companies rich. Because every time you see something, talk about, you know, how, oh, you know, we're struggling with gas prices, and they sack some upper level management guy. They're like, yeah, but we gave him like a $50 billion bonus or $50 million bonus, or billion's a bit much, $50 million bonus because, you know, he's our guy. Really? See, because to the blue collar worker, to the people who are just trying to make ends meet, that looks like a lot of dirty dealings, a lot of shenanigans. It's sort of like a company that goes under and then immediately turns around and gives bonuses to their top employees, to their top management people. It's like, why? Why did you get a bonus? You just laid off a bunch of people. I guarantee you they're laying off 8,000 employees from GM. I guarantee you somebody from the top that comes out soon that they gave him like a multi-million-dollar bonus for that. And I clicked on a link today on Facebook just to read about this article, and it had crap on there about Trump. You know, I thought Trump was going to make America great. Blah, blah, blah. This GM thing has been going on for a while. People aren't buying as many cars as they used to because they can't afford them, because people are greedy and they keep driving up the price. There's too many cars out there for people. There's too many options. It's sort of like Coca-Cola. I used to work for Coca-Cola, okay? Coke itself is a delicious product. But no, they want to build 40 billion brands off that brand because they want you to try everything because they're hoping to God one of them turns into Mountain Dew. Reality is, they're not. They're not going to create the next Mountain Dew. There's a lot of flavors out there and people are pretty latched onto the flavors they like. But they're going to spend an exorbitant amount of money to try and create flavors of things that you might like because they're hoping to God you might make it. Now, if sales seem to slump with their main Coke brand, they sit around the boardroom and go, well, why is that happening? Why aren't we focusing more on Coke? Why? Well, just because you spent 90% of your budget talking about all the new crap you got coming out and you forget to talk about your core brand. Budweiser did that. Ask Budweiser about Bud Light. I worked for Budweiser for 7 years. Budweiser lost out to Bud Light as the main brand. The core brand, as they used to call it. The bow tie. For a bunch of years, nobody even wanted to buy Budweiser. They asked us one time, they said, how can we sell more Budweiser? I said, paint it blue. I wasn't kidding. Paint it blue. Maybe people accidentally buy it thinking it's Bud Light. You know, companies get away from their focus and then they're surprised about why things turn out the way they are. GM took their focus off of things. They started antiquating systems with older people in their design department, and they stopped being exciting. They stopped making cars people wanted. That wasn't just GM though. It was almost every car manufacturer. And, you know, when Trump was not a president, when Trump was just a businessman, he ridiculed Obama for this whole buyout plan that happened with the car companies. And he was like, that's the worst idea ever. We're basically telling them because they failed here, we're just going to go into debt as a nation to help bail you out because we believe in you so much. Why? Why? I remember that interview. He said we should have let him fail. What happens in business if somebody fails? Competition comes up and they take over. And that's what would have happened. If we as a country had let GM fail, somebody else would have taken the reins as being a top car manufacturer, and we'd have been better for it. But no, we live in this weird nerf down society where we want to like handicap everybody and like help them out and be like, oh no, I got your back, buddy. But the government did it with our money, with taxpayers' money. Now I read on this article because I'm on lunch break today and I'm reading this article about it, and it asks about the GM buyout, and somebody said, well, didn't they pay back their money from that bailout? So I just type it in, and I was like, okay, I'm just curious. Did they ever pay that money back? An article came out in 2010 saying that GM announced this week that it repaid its multi-million-dollar taxpayer-backed TARP loans. GM even bragged about that it was able to pay the taxpayers in full with interest ahead of schedule because more customers were buying GM vehicles. Now, if you click further down on other articles, it says that they did not pay it all back, that they still owed a bunch of money, and that at a certain point, GM sold stock to China to help pay this stuff off. How much does GM own the government? In 2013, it says that the taxpayer loss was $10.5 billion. As of USA Today. That's a USA Today article. You can look this up on the internet. I'm looking it up. It's crazy. So who's right? Did they pay off the money they borrowed? Apparently nobody cares. They just take money from the government. The government gives them money. There's always somebody who's buddies with somebody, and they give them the handshake. Oh, you're my guy, Jim. I believe in you. I'm gonna, you know what? Nobody can tell me no. We're gonna pass this bill for you. Really? And we wonder why we can't seem to get our own households to be fiscally responsible when our government shows us a shining example of how they are irresponsible all the time. It's disheartening. It is. It makes me want to clean the slate of politicians. It makes me want to find out who's in whose pocket. You know, I feel like this is the scene in the movie where they go, well, the whole time we found out that this guy's been taking the money, and you go, screw that guy, and you vote that guy out. Or you, if it's like, you know, the Middle Ages, they take a sword and they chop his head off. You know. Now, we're not in the Middle Ages anymore. But with information as readily available as it is, you'd think we could find out who's scamming money from whom and why the American taxpayer is having to foot the bill. This government was designed of the people, for the people, by the people, and yet the people are being left out. The people are being taken advantage of. You and I, we're being taken advantage of. And it's not right. So, here's my call to action. I want everybody to start getting involved. I want everybody to start doing their own research and start giving me some feedback. I got a platform for some stupid reason. I got a platform. I got a camera, I got a microphone. See my little microphone? Woo. I got this podcast. And for whatever reason, people are listening. And I appreciate every one of you. I really do. I just looked online and this podcast, thanks to you guys, has 8,000 listens so far. That's amazing. That's amazing. It's just me talking. 8,000 people have listened to what I say. I am blown away. Who would have thought that the little kid who used to stutter now has 8,000 people listening to his podcast? I just hope to grow that number. I hope that we all get involved. I hope that everybody listening to this takes up their own action and they say, hey, you know what? Let me get involved. Let me start having a voice. If we all start having a voice, that's when things change. When we all start getting organized, united we stand, that's when things change. So stand with me. Take control. Let's do something. Let's change something. Let's hope to God they make another Chevy Volt version of whatever's next. I hate to see the death of Chevy Volt. I was really, really hopeful that was going to be the inspiring car that convinced other car makers to make something similar. I'd love it if my truck had that ability. Dang. Well, that's it for now. I'm going to cut this off. Happy birthday to Draven. I love you, kid. I know you're not a kid anymore, but you'll always be my kid. And get those Christmas trees up. It'll be time soon. Even if you don't have kids to see your tree, put it up, man. It'll make you feel good. We didn't want to put ours up, but we did, and it's beautiful. Beautiful. Even if we did have a pre-lit tree with lights out, and I had to run extra strands. I'm not bitter about that at all. No. Anyway, y'all take care, and we'll catch you on the flip side. Peace out.